$2,600. Well, let's talk about insuring a hobby ranch, a hobby farm, gentleman's ranch. I think a lot of people have small acreages with maybe a horse, some, just hobby animal stuff, and they may not have appropriate coverage. Jerry Szeszulski
they may
with
not.
American National Insurance.
And it's a very complicated question because you need to find out how many animals do they have. If they have 4 or less animals, you might be able to take care of it with just a standard homeowner's policy. But then if they have more than 4 large animals or a bunch of small animals, or if they make money off from the hobby farm, maybe
what if you just weighed all the animals, and as long as they were less than 5,000 pounds, then you don't have
5 ton, then you're in. Well, it doesn't work that way. And let's say they do some hay baling, or maybe they sell some of their pecans off their pecan orchard, or whatever it is. If they have some income off from it, that would be then a hobby farm. And now let's complicate it a little bit more. Let's say they have horses. Well, and they do a little training, or they board horses. That becomes a little bit of an income. Not enough to make money on, but it still becomes an income. Now we need to do a commercial general liability policy, because if someone gets hurt on their property, or they have a trainer on there, or the horse kicks someone, or they're transporting someone else's horse, all of that makes them liable.
But horses can be expensive. And
they can be expensive.
So can the danger of someone being hurt on your property. This sounds expensive. How much do these policies cost?
Well, okay, and that's interesting that you asked that. And every time you ask that, I want to answer it this way. At the time of loss, how much does it matter what the cost was?
You go back and you say, yeah, I would have paid an extra $600 for that kind of coverage.
Exactly, and what you need to do is you need to, first of all, make sure that you've set your hobby farm up like a business. You're not running it through your personal checkbook, because that opens up your personal assets.
So if there's any kind of claim against you or your property, something that happens there, and you're not running it separately, then
all your personal assets are exposed. So we have to make sure there's a wall there. But to answer your question, not to avoid it, it's probably going to be around $1,000 more than just a standard homeowner's policy. And you're going to get some additional liability protection. You're going to get protection if your cow gets out in the street and someone hits it. You're liable for that. You're liable for the loss of life or the loss of the use of that vehicle that hit the cow. So then you've got to think about hay. What about hay? If hay's out in the field and there's a tornado or there's a fire or there's vandalism, if it's wrapped, we cover more. If it's not wrapped, we cover less. Grain, there's a lot of coverages that you've got to think about, because you have a lot of money. If you have a few head of cattle, you could have a lot of money in food that has to last through the winter.
This sounds like you need to enroll in a 4-H program or get a degree in agriculture. I mean, this is real serious stuff. My family has farms down in Texas, and it's amazing how much they have to learn to run their farm effectively. And what you're saying is, even if you have a small place, I mean, you don't have to have a big place with a lot of acres and a lot of equipment, you might have some liability.
And you know what you don't want to do, Darryl? You do not want to get the cheapest price. I sit with farmers all the time and ranchers, and we look at their policy, and they're exposed on their liability portion, and that could be deadly. So make sure that you're sitting down with your agent and understand your product, that it's protecting your needs.
Jerry Szeszulski, the Szeszulski Agency, 254-2578. I'm Darryl Baskin of the Baskin Real Estate Specialists. We'll see you here on the future of real estate next week. Make sure you go to darrylbaskin.com for all the information on guests and topics we've had today.